Here's a scenario I want you to sit with for a second. You're 57. You're tired. You've worked for 30 years. You've saved. And you've finally decided, I'm done. So you leave your job, and the first thing you do is what many people assume is the normal next step. Roll your 401k into an IRA. Consolidate. Simplify. One account, done. 6 months later, something comes up. An unexpected expense, a medical bill, a gap in income you didn't plan for, and you need to pull some money from that retirement account. But you're only 57. You're not 59 and a half yet. So you call your IRA custodian, and they tell you that any withdrawal before 59 and a half may come with a 10% additional tax on top of the income tax you already owe. Here's the part that stings. If you had understood one rule before you did that rollover, a rule called the Rule of 55, there's a chance you could have accessed that same money from your 401k without that extra 10% tax. But once the money moved into an IRA, the rules may have changed. That's not a horror story. That's a planning gap, and it's more common than many people realize. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what the Rule of 55 is, what it actually does and doesn't do, which accounts it applies to, and a 7-question checklist to work through before you make any major move near retirement. Quick note before we start. This video is educational. It is not personalized tax, legal, or investment advice. Your plan's rules and your situation may differ, so bring these questions to your plan administrator, CPA, or a qualified financial professional. Now, let's get into it. Part 1. What the Rule of 55 really means. Let me start by clearing up the biggest source of confusion, the name. Rule of 55 sounds like a retirement strategy, like something you opt into, like a product. It's none of those. The Rule of 55 is an exception. Specifically, it's an exception to the 10% additional tax that the IRS typically applies to early distributions from retirement plans. Here's the baseline. If you take money out of a qualified retirement plan before you're 59 and a half, the IRS may assess a 10% additional tax on the taxable portion of that distribution, on top of ordinary income taxes you already owe. That 10% is sometimes referred to as the early withdrawal penalty. The Rule of 55 says that if you receive a distribution from a qualified employer plan after separating from service in the year you turn 55 or later, that distribution may not be subject to the 10% additional tax. Now I want to stop right here because I know what some of you may already be thinking. You might be thinking, great, so I'm 56, I leave my job, and I pull money from my 401k and I skip the penalty. Easy. Hold on. There are 2 things you need to hear before you go any further. First, this is not tax-free money. Avoiding the 10% additional tax is not the same as avoiding taxes altogether. Traditional 401k withdrawals may still count as ordinary taxable income. You could still owe income taxes, just potentially without the extra 10% layered on top. And second, this does not apply to every account. And that distinction, which account, which rules, is where many people get tripped up. Because the Rule of 55 is not just about your age. The account your money sits in may matter just as much as your age. Part 2. 4 questions that decide your options. Here's a question. When you hear Rule of 55, are you mostly focused on the number 55? That's where most people start, and it's also where many people stop. Age matters, but it's only one piece. Let me give you the 4 questions that actually determine whether this rule is even relevant to your situation. Question 1. Did you leave your job in the year you turned 55 or later? The rule is tied to when you separate from service, not just how old you are. If you left a job at 54 and you're now 57, that separation generally doesn't qualify. It's the year you leave that matters. And here's a detail that surprises people. This applies to your current employer's plan, the one associated with the job you're leaving. An old 401k from an employer you left a decade ago doesn't automatically benefit from this rule. In some cases, if your current plan accepts roll-ins before you separate from service, moving old 401k money into the current plan may be something to review, but you would want to confirm the plan rules before assuming that works. Question 2. Where is the money you might need? This is the account question, and it's the one many people gloss over. The Rule of 55 generally applies to qualified employer plans, such as 401ks and 403bs. It does not apply to IRAs in the same way. IRAs operate under different sets of rules and exceptions. Early distributions from a traditional or Roth IRA before 59.5 may still be subject to the 10% additional tax, with their own list of exceptions that is separate from the Rule of 55. So if your money has already been moved to a rollover IRA, the Rule of 55 may no longer apply to that money. Question 3. Are you planning to roll over to an IRA right away? Here's where I want you to pause and think, because this is the planning gap I described in the opening. Rolling over your 401k into an IRA when you leave your job is a perfectly reasonable thing to consider. There are legitimate reasons people do it. But if you haven't thought through the Rule of 55 first, you may be closing off an access option before you've even decided whether you need it. You don't have to decide today whether to roll over or not, but you do need to understand what changes before you move that money. Because once it's in an IRA, IRA rules apply, and getting back to the same set of options may not be simple or may not be available depending on the plan. Question 4. Does your plan actually allow the type of withdrawal you'd need? This one is almost always skipped, and it matters enormously. The IRS may allow penalty-free access under the Rule of 55, but your employer plan has its own provisions. Some plans allow partial withdrawals. Others may only allow a full lump sum. Some have minimum distribution amounts, withholding requirements, or fees for distributions. Before you assume you can take $1,500 a month from your 401k starting at 56, call your plan administrator and ask directly, what are my distribution options if I leave this year? So before we talk about how this fits into your income plan, we need to clear up the biggest mistake people make with this rule. Thinking penalty-free means problem-free. Part 3. What this rule does not solve. I want to be straightforward with you here, because the most valuable thing I can do is give you an accurate picture, not just the highlights. The Rule of 55 can be useful, but it has limits. It cannot make your withdrawal tax-free. Traditional 401k withdrawals may still be counted as taxable income in the year you take them. Removing the 10% additional tax is meaningful, but it is not the whole tax story. It cannot be applied to your IRA in the same way it applies to a 401k. If someone tells you the Rule of 55 applies to IRAs the same way it applies to a 401k, that's not accurate. IRAs have their own exception list. And it cannot tell you whether you're ready to retire. Knowing that penalty-free access may be possible is not the same as having a retirement income plan. The Rule of 55 doesn't answer, do I have enough? What does healthcare cost me before 65? What does my tax picture look like if I'm withdrawing from a 401k while also receiving other income? What happens to Social Security if I claim early versus waiting? These are the real retirement questions. The Rule of 55 is one small piece of the answer. Once you understand what the Rule of 55 does not solve, the real planning question becomes much clearer. What income source should you use in those gap years? Part 4. Where it fits in your income plan. I want to zoom out now, because the Rule of 55 only makes sense when you see it in context. Most people think about retirement as a finish line. You hit the number, you leave the job, and the money starts flowing. But retirement income isn't automatic. It has to come from somewhere. And the years between leaving work and the major income milestones can be surprisingly complicated. Think about the timeline. You leave at 57.
Social Security can start at 62 at the earliest, though many people need to review whether waiting longer makes sense for their situation. Medicare generally starts at 65. RMDs come later. That could mean several years of income you need to build from your accounts you already have. So where does the rule of 55 fit? For some people, it may provide one possible source of bridge income from their 401k without the 10% additional tax during those years before 59 and a half. That's a meaningful option, but it's one piece of a larger picture that might also include taxable brokerage accounts, cash, Roth IRA contributions, part-time work, or a spouse's income. And I want to be specific here. Roth IRA contributions, not necessarily earnings, can generally be withdrawn tax and penalty-free, but you still want to understand ordering rules and keep good records. Now, let me ask you directly. Have you actually mapped out which accounts you draw from and in what order between now and 65? Because here's what many people don't realize. The sequence matters. It can affect your tax bracket each year. It can affect whether Roth conversions make sense in a given window. It can affect your Medicare premiums years later through something called IRMA, where higher income today can mean higher Part B premiums in the future. And it can affect how your Social Security benefits are taxed down the road. These are not separate decisions. They are the same decision looked at from different angles. This is the moment where the Rule of 55 changes shape. It starts as a tax penalty rule, but in real retirement planning, it becomes an income sequencing question. Which account do you use first? Which dollars create taxable income? Which decision affects healthcare? And which choice gives you flexibility before Social Security and Medicare enter the picture? That is why this rule matters. Not because it tells you to retire early, not because it replaces a plan, but because it may affect the order of decisions you make before and after you leave your job. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest planning gaps in this entire conversation: healthcare. If you leave work before 65, you may lose access to your job-based health coverage, or you may need to replace it with COBRA, marketplace coverage, a spouse's plan, retiree coverage, or another option. That gap, from the day you leave your job to the day Medicare begins, can carry significant costs. It needs to be a line item in your income plan, not a "we'll figure it out." And if you're using marketplace coverage, your household income estimate may also affect whether you qualify for premium tax credits or lower out-of-pocket costs. So, if this is the kind of retirement decision you're trying to sort through right now, comment 401k below. I may use those questions for a follow-up video on whether it makes sense to keep a 401k, roll it to an IRA, or use it as part of a bridge income plan. Now, I want to give you something concrete to take into your next conversation, whether that's with your HR department, your plan administrator, or your CPA. Here's the checklist I'd suggest you walk through before you leave your job or move any money. Part 5. 7 questions before you leave work. Go through each of these. If you can't answer one clearly, that's not a gap to ignore. That's exactly the question to bring to a professional. Question 1. Do I qualify based on when I'm leaving? Am I separating from service in the year I turn 55 or later? Is this the employer whose plan I'd be drawing from? Question 2. Where is the money I might need between now and 59 and a half? Current 401k, old 401k, rollover IRA, Roth IRA, brokerage, or cash? Each of those operates under different rules. Question 3. Am I planning to roll over immediately? And do I understand what that changes? Before moving any money, get clear on what access options may shift. This isn't a reason not to roll over. It's a reason to review first. Question 4. What does my plan actually allow? Partial withdrawals, installments, lump sum only, fees, withholding? Call your plan administrator and ask specifically.
before you assume. Question 5. Have I accounted for income taxes, not just the 10% additional tax? What bracket am I in? How does a 401k withdrawal interact with other income I might have that year? Question 6. How am I covering health care between now and 65? Do I have a realistic cost estimate? Not a guess. Marketplace, COBRA, a spouse's plan, or retiree coverage? Question 7. What does my income plan look like all the way to Social Security, Medicare, and RMDs? Which accounts would I use in which years, and how could that affect taxes, Roth conversions, or Social Security timing? If those questions feel connected, they are. That is the entire point. The Rule of 55 is not a standalone rule. It is one piece of a retirement income decision.
Part 6. David's 401k decision.
Let me make this concrete with a hypothetical. David is 58. He has a current 401k, an old rollover IRA from a job he left years ago, and a modest amount in cash. He's planning to leave his job in about 12 months. He hasn't decided when to claim Social Security, and he hasn't thought much about health care because he's been covered by his employer for so long it barely registers as a cost. A colleague told him, "When you leave, just roll everything into one IRA. Makes life easier." And David thought that sounded right. And it might be right. But here's the question I'd ask David. Easier to manage or easier to decide without fully understanding your options? Before David moves a dollar, he needs to work through a few things. Does his current 401k allow partial withdrawals under the Rule of 55? Does he actually need income from that account before 59 and a half, or does he have enough bridge from cash and other sources? If he rolls into his IRA before reviewing this, what specifically changes? What does 7 years of healthcare cost look like between 58 and 65? And what would his taxable income look like if he uses 401k withdrawals as bridge income before Social Security or Medicare? David may absolutely end up doing the rollover. That might be the right call for him. But the version of David who reviews these questions first is making a choice. The version who doesn't is just following a default and hoping it works out. The difference may be one conversation with his plan administrator or CPA, and one tax projection with his CPA, but that conversation needs to happen before the rollover, not after. Review this before you move your 401k. The Rule of 55 is not a shortcut. It's not a strategy that works for everyone, and it is not the reason to leave your job early. What it is a checkpoint. One question in a series of questions you should be asking before you make decisions that are difficult to reverse. Before you leave your job, before you sign the rollover paperwork, before you move any money, ask yourself this. If I keep my 401k where it is, roll it over, or start taking withdrawals, what changes? And how does each option affect my income, my taxes, and my access to that money in the years before 59 and a half? If you can answer that confidently, great. If you're not sure, that uncertainty is exactly what a conversation with your plan administrator or CPA is for. One last thing. If you're in your late 50s or early to mid-60s and you're actively thinking about when to leave your job, drop your age in the comments right now. I'm going to use those responses to plan the next few videos. 401k rollover decisions, the Roth conversion window before RMDs, healthcare costs before Medicare, and Social Security timing. These decisions don't live in separate boxes. They connect. And understanding how they connect, that's what this channel is built around. If that's useful to you, subscribe. The next video picks up exactly where this one ends. Should you roll over your 401k to an IRA before retirement? Because the answer isn't as simple as most people think. See you there.